Alright, hi everybody. I've gotten a lot of compliments on my pulled pork that I do, and I've had quite a few people ask me for either a recipe or to show them how I do my pulled pork. So what I'm going to do today is put together a little video just showing you the steps I do, and hopefully I'll even include a little bit on what I do to put it on the grill and some items after that. Okay, let's first talk about the type of meat that we want to do for our pulled pork. We are looking for a Boston butt, or you might see it advertised as a pork shoulder roast or a pork butt. Any of those are fine, but primarily we're looking for is a Boston butt or a pork butt. Not really looking for anything that would be a lean type of meat like a pork loin or anything like that. We just want a good old fatty pork butt. Right here what I'm doing is preparing it before I begin cutting the fat cap. You can see the fat cap right there. We're going to trim that off a little bit. But I was just drying it off before we start cutting our fat cap and putting on our salt and our rub. So here we're cutting the fat cap. You're looking to get it down to about a 1/4 to an 1/8 of an inch. You can see this opened up another pork butt that we had because I was doing 2 this day, and I opened up another one that had a very fatty fat cap on it, and we're trying to trim this down again to a 1/4 to an 1/8 of an inch. Main reason you want to trim it down is because you're going to put a lot of spices and rubs on this, and that's going to form a bark and a lot of good tasty stuff. And people generally just don't want to eat a big glob of fat, and most of this fat isn't going to render out. So you want to trim it down so that all that time that your meat spends in the smoker getting a good bark and rub on there, that people are going to eat that. So trim it down to a good 1/4 to an 1/8 of an inch. And that's just about right here. So next what we're going to do, once I finish trimming this down, we're going to take a little bit of vegetable oil and we're going to rub that over the meat, and then that's going to help the salt dissolve and penetrate the meat. And then I'm going to take kosher salt, coarse kosher salt, and I'm going to sprinkle that all over the pork butt. I salt it pretty heavily. It's a big piece of meat. If the pork butt that you buy says that it's been brined, you probably can go easier on the salt, but I've never really had an issue with my pork butt being too salty, so you can be fairly generous with the salt on this. Okay, next let's talk about our rubs. What you're looking for is a sweet rub, or even something that might be advertised as a Memphis rub or a rib rub. Mainly what you're looking for is something that is sweet. You can also go to AmazingRibs.com. The author there has a rib rub for what he calls his Memphis dust, which is basically white sugar, brown sugar, salt, pepper, paprika, garlic salt, and a few other spices that are in there, but that's primarily what you're looking for. So if you want to make your own rub, that's a great place to start, or you can buy just a sweet rub. That one in particular is called OBQ's Barbecue, and it's their sweet rub. I really like it. It has good flavor, and I've really seen good results with it. So again, just like with the salt, you can add this on pretty liberally. Again, it's a big chunk of meat, and most of your rub is just going to sit on the outside, and so when you're doing a 9-pound pork butt, you want to get plenty of rub on there so that once you shred it and mix it all up, that you've got plenty of tasty rub and bark all over it. So again, just make sure you get it everywhere. Once you're done with that, I take 4 pieces of baking string, and I go ahead and tie 2 lengthwise and 2 widthwise. That makes it easier to put on the grill, and it actually helps the meat hold together as it's cooking over the 6 to 8, 9 hours, however long it's going to cook, 12 maybe, depending on how low you can cook it. Alright, let's talk grill setup. Here's what I do with mine. Put all my charcoal in the middle. I go ahead and light that with a Weber fire starter. It's just a little cube, and then I put 4 chunks of hickory around there. I think hickory's the best to barbecue with. That's just me. I really like it. I do it for my brisket and my pork, and I just like the flavor that it has. Once that gets up to about 200 degrees, that just the charcoal by itself, that's when I add the hickory, and that's what you have a picture of here. And I just set it all around so that you get a good, nice, even burn on the hickory. But it's fairly simple fire setup. Once it gets up to 200, then I put my smoking stone on. Here's another essential piece of equipment. Go ahead and buy yourself a nice leave-in oven thermometer that you can put in your meat, and it will sit there and tell you the temperature the whole time you're cooking. I don't cook by time, I cook by temperature. So I'm trying to get this meat all the way up to 205 degrees internal temperature, and when you do that, you're going to get a nice tender piece of meat. Now, these 2 pork butts have been on about an hour, and you can see there's good color from that sugar and that rub on there. And after it's been cooking about 3 or 4 hours and it gets up to an internal temperature of about 160 degrees is when I'm going to take it and wrap it in tin foil just like this and add some chicken broth, and then I cook it all the way to 205. Now this is, you can see it's actually done, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and take the strings off. Obviously you don't want to try and shred it with the strings on, but you probably knew that already. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and remove that shoulder blade that is in there on the pork butt. You could have bought a boneless pork butt, that's fine too if you end up getting that, but all mine generally have bones, and you can see since we got it up to 205 it comes out really, really tender. That's as clean as a whistle, and from here it's really about shredding the meat. So you can see I've got these nice little pork butt shredders, and it just works great. So shred the meat from there, and then after that just make yourself a nice little pulled pork sandwich like you see here. It's got just pork butt, a little barbecue sauce, I like Sweet Baby Ray's, and some pickles on there. Enjoy. That's it.